Parliamentary Committee for Iran Freedom share your determination that the refugees at Camp Ashraf shall not be evicted from that camp in breach of undertakings given by the Iraqi government and their rights under international humanitarian law. Unless and until this government, the United States and the United Nations Security Council step in, we are heading for an humanitarian catastrophe at Ashraf. What's going on is that the Iraqis, through that Committee for the Suppression of Ashraf, its title tells you its purpose, and it shows the contempt in which they hold their obligations under international humanitarian law. They are determined now to erase Ashraf from the face of the earth, and if that means killing more people and injuring more people, then that is what they're going to do. Now, we're going to stop them. We are going to stop them. And we're going, and I've also written to the American ambassador in London with a copy of a letter signed by about 25 distinguished colleagues of mine in both houses of Parliament. We are determined that this matter will not go. We will not be silenced on this matter. There are obligations, whether the Iraqis like them or not, they have signed up for them. They didn't say, we accept our obligations under humanitarian law, except for members of the PMOI. They signed up to those international obligations. We demand that, as they have demonstrated, they have no intention of carrying out those responsibilities, then that responsibility should be taken away from them, and there should be a force established through the UN Security Council to ensure the safety and security of the people of Camp Ashraf. What matters about Ashraf, what matters about this, is it is a signal of hope, the hope of freedom and respect for human rights, for those millions who cry freedom in Iraq, in Iran itself. It's a voice that drifts over the desert sands, crosses that border into Iran itself, and gives those people renewed heart, spirit, and determination to stand up to one of the vilest regimes on this planet, who've been sanctioned 57 times by the United Nations for their breaches of respect for human rights. Flog women, hang children. They hang more people than the rest of the world put together, bar China. What a lovely picture of Islam that gives to the world, doesn't it? They're barbarians, and we're not going to let them get away with it. You're not, and we're not. We're going to stand firm, raise our voices. Salam Ashraf. We stand alongside you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
The recent attacks and restrictions seriously violate the 4th Geneva Convention, which applies to Ashraf residents. And according to the 27th of December 2010 ruling by the Spanish court and the statute of the International Criminal Court, these actions are considered to be war crimes and crimes against humanity. So, my friends, I would like to see the United Nations and the United States of America playing an active role in Ashraf and guaranteeing the protection of its residents. I would also like to ask our Foreign Office to convince the Iraqi government to do all they can to stop the Iraq Closure Committee's actions and place Ashraf's dossier under the supervision of the Iraqi Parliament, and immediately end the psychological torture of the residents by Iranian intelligence agents using 180 loudspeakers. God bless you all.
Thank you.
I hope that the people in our Foreign Office are hearing the protest that's going on outside. Look, I'm sure everyone else has said this, you know this, so I don't want to labour the point, but the simple fact is that Ashraf does represent the opposition to what's happening in Iran. Ashraf represents a chance for something different. That's why the Iranian authorities are determined to crush it. That's why they're executing people like Ali Saremi and others who have shown their support. And it's simply the sort of thing that we cannot accept in a civilized world. The people in Ashraf are a protected people. This country went to war in Iraq to free the Iraqi people from a dictatorship. It cost a lot of lives. It's hardly worth it if the result now is for the mullahs in Tehran to decide what happens in Iraq. And that is what's happening in terms of Ashraf at the moment. Anyone looking at the situation where the camp has been surrounded by these loudspeakers knows perfectly well what's happening. You don't bring that sort of equipment into an area without it being noticed, and you don't bring it in to jolly people along. This is a deliberate and well-tried psychological terror tactic. It's the sort of thing that would have been familiar in Nazi Germany or Stalin's Russia. It's not the sort of thing we want to see happening in a liberated Iraq, and it's not the sort of thing that the Iraqi authorities should be encouraging or turning a blind eye to. And in that context, what I hope will result from your demonstration is that the British government will join forces with other governments across the world to say that the Ashraf Suppression Committee must be dissolved, the loudspeakers must be removed, and Ashraf must be subject to international inspection and UN protection. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. The time has come to adopt eternal regime change as the West's policy in Iran. We must stand on the side of the Iranian people and their organized resistance to bring about democratic change. The mullahs' proxies in Iraq are trying to silence the Iranian people by destroying Iran's main bastion of freedom, Camp Ashraf. As you well know, PMOI members in Ashraf are designated protected persons under the 4th Geneva Commission. Despite this, they are under an abysmal siege and have repeatedly come under attack by Iranian and Iraqi agents. More than 170 people, including at least 90 women, were attacked with Molotov cocktails and stones only last week, in blatant disregard for international law. The regime's intelligence ministry agents continue to chant threats and abuse round the clock from 180 loudspeakers around the edge of the perimeter of the camp. And this psychological torture has been non-stop since last February. I would like to see an end to these appalling abuses. In fact, I demand that there should be an end to these appalling abuses. And I call upon the Foreign Secretary of a government I support, to do two things as a matter of urgency. Firstly, I demand that he demands of Iraq that they immediately remove the 180 loudspeakers used for torturing the residents of Camp Ashraf. I demand that they do that. Secondly, I demand that Iraq effectively dissolves the committee to suppress Ashraf
in the Prime Minister's office and hands over Ashraf's dossier to the Iraqi Parliament instead. Mrs. Maryam Rajavi, President-elect of the Iranian resistance, put it: the correct solution to the Iranian problem is regime change, a democratic change by Iranian people and their resistance. This is the defining factor in the Iranian equation. Thus, any policy that blocks the resistance ignores the most important factor for change in Iran and protects the regime. That is what Maryam Rajavi said. I support that, and I expect this government to support that view too. It is time for our government and others in the West to start backing those who support freedom and democracy in Iran, both in the country and externally amongst members of the resistance, most prominently the PMOI.
We warned months ago, my colleague Lord Dallachia warned months ago, after those attacks in July, last July, of what would happen. And we see no let-up in the harassment of those 3,400 brave people. And that is why today's demonstration, in the polite, restrained, but nevertheless powerful way you are putting forward the case, and we continue to put forward the case in the Parliamentary Committee, is so important. I think the message will go out. I hope this message is being seen by people all over the world, that we will not forget Camp Ashraf. As long as Iranian citizens, your compatriots, our friends, are in Camp Ashraf, we will remember them, and we will demand, continue to demand, that the most basic human rights, medical supplies, food supplies, access to relatives, remains critical.
Ashraf protection means peace.